Setting. I think we're good. You are looking live at the JT and Looney podcast. Little tech support issues today. Hopefully everybody loves this, and we are live on all of our platforms. And Tom, thank you for doing this today as your Lakers have been eliminated, and I know that's always one of the toughest days of the year for you.
Yes, the Showtime Lakers got eliminated back in the day by the Houston Rockets. Remember that? By the Twin Towers back in the day. These things happen. Tom Brady didn't win a Super Bowl every year. He only won a handful of them in that long career that he had. And he was still considered the greatest ever. It's great. Having all-star teams in Los Angeles has been incredible. As you know, it's always about perspective for me. And I get to turn on the television and watch the Lakers with LeBron, two of the greatest basketball players in the world, which was Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And now it's LeBron James and Luka. And if they go down, I get the all-star team called the Los Angeles Dodgers to watch now. And the Clippers to cheer against.
Here's the problem, and there's a lot of problems now. This is why I wanted to do this with you and wait for the Lakers series either to end or end early. There's so much meat on the bone with this topic. You have the aging LeBron, who's not getting better and is still great. Very important topic. When you're not physically going to get any better, Tiger Woods, Bonds, whoever it is, you're at the end, but you're still productive.
LeBron didn't take a bunch of pills and drive off a cliff. He's still pretty. Physically, he's still pretty good.
I'll give you a better one. A boxer, perfect one. You're an elite boxer. You're 35. You're still boxing, and there's no way you're going to box the way you did at 23, 28, 31. But you can still get $50 million a fight, and you can still be productive. So Luka is out of shape. Fact, not fiction. The guy can't get up and down the court. He can score 38 with a step back jumper in the lane. He's beautiful at that, but he just can't do it if he's not in shape. LeBron should wave goodbye, and you should get younger stars like the Oklahoma City Thunder have with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, all those guys. Tom, I feel like your Lakers are in no man's land.
I don't think that you want to get a little. Why would anyone ever want to get rid of LeBron James? LeBron James teams go to the finals, no matter where he plays. So I want the guy that takes teams to the. He's like a lucky charm. So it doesn't happen every year. It doesn't happen for any player or any team every year. And go younger. That's what people always complain when they got LeBron. They would trade away the younger. Let's build the younger guys. No, they kept LeBron. They won championships. Who are you going to replace LeBron with that's going to be just as good as LeBron James? Or you build a younger guy, work on younger people, and build the team up? No.
I'm going to push back on you here. This is a general sports question with a 40-year-old aging athlete who has been brilliant his whole career. It happened to Bill Russell, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and you're not answering the question. You got a guy who's past his prime, still playing well. What do you want to do? Just roll this team out again that couldn't get out of the first round again? You want to do this next year?
I can't speak on Bill Russell, although I think talking about Bill Russell isn't good for the podcast. Out of demographic for us. But Larry Bird was hurt. Magic Johnson was playing fine. He had HIV, and they were all freaked out about it back then before there was medicine. Who else did you name there? That doesn't fit. You forgot to mention Michael Jordan. This isn't Michael Jordan on the Wizards. LeBron James is still one of the best top 5 players in the league. You don't think that?
No, not anymore. He's not top 5. I mean, look last night in the fourth quarter because of his age, and he couldn't go to the well and go rebound coast to coast, dunk over 2 guys like he did at 25 years old. That's obvious. Can he get?
He had a little more trouble going to the well against this team, but he's been going to the well the entire season. Now, the question you should ask: how long before he goes to the well and comes down and gets hurt? Because he doesn't have any great injury history compared to all the other guys you named who had another major reason. Even Tiger Woods for declining, he hasn't had a declining injury yet.
Okay, you and I are going to butt heads because you actually don't want to tell me the day less than 24 hours after he was eliminated, you want to roll this shit show back again. You want to roll JJ Redick, who walked out of his press conference last night and couldn't handle a bench and completely ran his guys into the ground in this series. You want to bring back LeBron at 41? Or what, Hachimura, I'm good with. Austin Reeves, fantastic player. You cannot bring this team back. Again, the Warriors, I don't like how they did it. They got Jimmy Butler, and they're going to go farther than the Lakers here. You got to do something, Tom.
Well, you do have to do something. They've been doing great things to bring us great entertainment on the court. And I don't think, what do you want to do? And it's not a shit show. It's a great basketball team. They've been entertaining, filling the arenas, entertaining people, selling out. It's the number one selling jersey when Luka came to LA. People are really enthused about this team. It's not a shit show. You called it a shit show, and I have it on videotape. When we filled in for Jim Rome, and they won the NBA Finals that year.
Yeah, that was years ago. That's
I know it was, but that was 2020, I believe. But it was the pandemic year. But again, your definition of a shit show. A shit show is all the teams that didn't make it into the NBA playoffs. Those are shit shows.
Okay, let me ask you this because you're really good on this topic too. We've discussed it forever. If Bill Belichick, we'll get to the girlfriend later. If Bill Walsh,
I love May-December relationships.
If Bill Walsh and Bill Belichick, if this was the NFL, they would get rid of a player a year too early than a year too late. We both agree.
Right.
Well,
yes.
That's exactly what should happen now with LeBron. The problem is LeBron is an entitled NBA player like James Harden, Kawhi, Joel Embiid. Those guys control the roster and their exit strategy. So if I was Jeannie Buss, I would sit down with LeBron and go, we'd like you to leave. You've had a great career. We're going to retire your number. We're not going to get better with you here. We need you to leave so we can get younger pieces with Luka, who's in his prime, to build the next Laker dynasty. That's what rational people would do, but you can't do that in the NBA because the players like LeBron, they have more power than the general manager and the head coach. That's what I think we're seeing right now.
You know why Austin Reeves is amazing? Because of the teammates he had. Would Austin Reeves be like this on any other team that didn't have LeBron James and Luka? He's Austin Collie is what he is. Remember Austin Collie on the Colts? Yeah, because he had Peyton Manning, and Peyton Manning would turn a star into any wide receiver they got, which is why I think wide receivers are overrated. You got a good quarterback, he'll put it on the hands of a talented person. And Austin Reeves, plays that role, but you're acting like you're gonna keep Austin Reeves, get rid of LeBron James. That's not what general manager JT would do.
Yeah, that's part of what I do. What I would do is I would hope that LeBron leaving and his enormous cap hit, that I'd be able to go into the pool of free agents or the trade market and get someone. And I'll take it one step further. If I'm LeBron James and I really care about winning and he wants to win, I would go to the Rockets, who have three elite young players and they don't have any experience. And I think Durant and LeBron are going to fight to get to the Rockets here because they're not going to go to Oklahoma City. They're probably the best team, and they're not going to go to the Celtics. If I'm LeBron, I'm trying to pick the next team that could get me to the Western Conference Finals. That's not the Warriors. That's not the Eastern Conference, like Cleveland. This would be a really good time for LeBron to go back to Cleveland and go, I'm not going to play 36 minutes. I'm going to play 21. And I'll start and I'll come off the bench and maybe I'll get another ring and be one away from Michael. Because it's not going to happen with this roster on the Lakers, I can promise you.
And I think he, from what I remember when he won the title with Cleveland the last time, I think he didn't even look at the owner. So I guess they don't get along. So, but maybe now that LeBron's older, maybe he will. You can get along with people as adults if you choose to. So it's interesting that you say that. But who do you bring in to play with Luka? that's not LeBron James that you think creates a championship roster, improve a step up from
Yeah,
LeBron
that's a
James?
deep dive for another podcast. I just look around the
Okay.
league and I try to find burgeoning. I haven't used that word in a while. Burgeoning all-stars,
Oh,
young
God, no.
players like the Rockets and OKC have, and I try to pair with this, or you could do what LeBron probably will do, which he should do, is he should have a press conference and announce that he's going to play one more year, kind of like Mariano Rivera and Jeter. And then everybody brings him the rocking chairs and the surfboards, and they bring him all the gifts, like Kareem. Kareem was the best at it, and he sits on the rocking chair and he gets a whole bunch of gifts and Rolexes that he doesn't need, and he plays one more year. And every arena that he goes to, Tom, from New Orleans to the Garden to Chicago, one more game, everybody overwhelms him with praise, and he goes out that way. That's the way aging athletes go out.
Yeah, and that might be nice, and that's what one of the things we do is we talk about this stuff that there's other people's decisions. But as you know me as a number one Laker apologist in North America, and that includes Puerto Rico, Canada, Mexico, Guam, the Virgin Islands. I want to be entertained. And if you're going to even be disappointed, it's better. It's great to have one of the ask people who think how entitled Laker fans look, like me, who to people or even to that you look to Lakers calling it a shit show when their teams aren't in the playoffs, or the Milwaukee Bucks fans, for example, who have a good team. But their team, they haven't won one since the 70s. They finally got one. Those are shit shows.
All right.
The Lakers, when you say what's Rob Pelinka going to do so far, I'm the one that says not bad, putting an entertaining product on the floor that a sold out crowd wants to see.
Okay, I'm gonna. There was the crypto holds about 20,000, right?
Yes,
20,000, give or take, 1920.
yeah, it's 18.9 all
Okay,
for boxing, which always sells out. It's the largest crowd. It's crypto are always boxing, by the way, is about 19.5.
yeah. So what do you think the 18,700 as they were
Mm-hmm.
walking out after paying $100 to park or a $90 Uber Black to get home? What do you think the majority of those fans said? You think they said, "Hey, man, I can't wait till next year. Let's roll this back again"? Or do you think they
The
said, "Holy shit, we won one playoff game, and we got buried, and let's
so good.
bring this group back again"? What are you saying?
The first thing they said is, "Oh my God, I got a selfie with Dustin Hoffman." That's the first thing that they would be saying to each other. And second, they'd be saying, "Holy shit, we won one playoff game." So those are
It,
the two things they'd say.
yeah, I think that I'm a Knicks fan. The Knicks playing, and depending on when you're listening to us, all these they brought
And
on
they're not this
the Knicks
year.
brought in a whole bunch of new guys. Jalen Brunson's great. He's not good. He's great. He's like
Yeah.
an
Yep.
MVP candidate. But they bring in Ananobi. They bring in Bridges. They bring in some really good players. But they're not at the level of Luka and LeBron and Steph. But they brought in a lot of nice pieces. And you know what it's going to get them? Nothing. They're not going to be able to beat Boston. So this
Yeah.
is a star-driven league. And the way to win in this league is you've got to, in the NFL, you got to get a rookie quarterback like Jaden Daniels, keep his price down, load up with great players, and take a shot. That's really the new formula. In the NBA, you got to get a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, a Giannis Antetokounmpo, one of
Mhm.
these guys to not resign with their team. You got to, like Giannis signs a supermax deal to stay in Milwaukee. Well, then the Lakers don't get him, Miami don't get him, and my Knicks don't get him.
Right.
And he stays in Milwaukee. What the Lakers have to do is find a way to get a young piece who can play with Luka. The point I wanted to make today was that Luka is the future of the franchise. You're a bodybuilder, you're a fitness freak. You must be disgusted that this guy can't run, that he's so out of shape and he's making this type of money. I don't want to say he's stealing money because he's a great player, but wouldn't you love to get this guy in shape so he can play at an even more elite level?
Well, I always say this, and we used to talk about Prince Fielder, and we always had to tiptoe through it because you can't talk about fat people anymore. And I always say, well, you can if they're getting paid $1 million to be an athlete. And I would say it about coaches. Coach Ryan with the Jets. Remember, if you work in a gym and you got personal trainers, you can get them for free if you're even if you have to pay for it if you're a millionaire anyway. It's your job to be in shape. You'll notice NFL referees are all in shape now. Every NFL athlete, every pro athlete at any level should be in shape, and so should Luka. Luka did have an injury earlier this year, and it's in his calf. When you have a calf injury, can't run. And so when the Lakers got him, he still couldn't play for a few games. So that's a leg injury. So there might be reasons why he isn't in the same shape as everyone else. I think he smokes Marlboro Reds. That might be another reason. He's European. They smoke. A fun fact, 50% of adult men in the world smoke. That's amazing to us because in America, we are very politically correct. And that is whether you're liberal or conservative, we all have the same zombie opinion. No smoking. No smoking. It's amazing. We say we can't get together on anything. They say we're divided. No, we're not. Talk about cigarettes. Everyone's got the same opinion. No smoking. No smoking. So, so that's an interesting fun fact, though, about around the world, they're still smoking. And so I think, yeah, I always agree with you on that. Anytime you see any athlete who's not in tip-top shape, they are unprofessional.
Next topic, and everybody in the chat, we appreciate it, everybody listening. The first 100 days of a presidency. Okay.
Oh.
This is big. Okay. If you look at, there's different styles of people that like politics. You're either uber liberal, you're mainstream Democrat, you're a conservative Democrat, you're a wildly conservative Republican, you're MAGA, you're what I think I am, a conservative Republican
Right.
with social. I'm a little bit light on the social side.
Right,
of this.
because you want less government. You don't want
Right.
government having an opinion on those things. That's what the Republican Party used to be about. Yes.
Okay. So this 100 days has been fucking chaos. Absolute chaos. Now, not bad, not terrible chaos. Some people like it. The border's secure. I mean, the border is 99.9% secure, not whatever. We don't know. We're not Border Patrol guys. But
Right.
it's safe. There's some tariff stuff going on that people think have to happen if my kids aren't going to spend, $18 for a loaf of bread. We got to get this tariff under control. But looking at the stock market, looking at what we've seen, some of the press conferences, some of the deportations, wherever you stand on all this, it has been fucking chaos. Some people think it's good chaos. Other people think it's bad chaos. I'm just saying it's chaos. I don't like chaos. I like steady as she goes. So don't tell me it's going to get better. Don't tell me it's going to get worse. I don't give a shit. I'm not here to debate that. I'm just telling you that this first 100 days was fucking insanity. It was insane. And I just hope the noise calms down a bit and everything works out. I told you, I don't care if the president of the United States was a giraffe, an actual giraffe. I'd be okay. I wouldn't wake up any differently. But it's getting to the point right now that it's out of control chaos every morning when I wake up.
And how long have you known me where I said it'd be better if we didn't have one, like Belgium? Because guess what? If you want to argue in the last 4 years, and that's why Biden lost, is because we kind of didn't, well, everything came back. Everything eventually steadily came back, and some people would argue, but with the crazy prices of eggs and everything, okay, even if you want to get rid of a president because of that, the president has to take responsibility for that. But all of a sudden, as you mentioned, the chaos has all crashed all that with travel, the economy, jobs. The jobs report today was crazy bad. And if we just had someone do nothing, no chaos, and do more, okay, do more on the border if you want. We have not deported any more people than Biden did. That's amazing because we don't have enough ICE. He's really great at public relations. So it seems as though those things are getting a lot more publicity, but the numbers aren't up with deportations that much because they only have a certain amount of guys to do it. So they have to fight that kind of on a public relations front. At the border, things seem to be down. And other than that, though, you're right. It's chaos, and it's not. When people voted, a lot of people said, "Well, I have a feeling I won't get a new house, so let's switch parties and see what's happening." You think you're going to have a real estate guy's going to help you get a new house if you're an average wage earner? No, And that's not going to change, unfortunately. And that's one of the things we really have to get under control is people that part of the American dream. Can we? I don't know, but you can't. I can't argue with you that it hasn't been chaos. And I think one of the reasons why we've always been able to talk about politics so civilly, because we don't always see everything the same, is that's because a lot of what drives our politics, what drives my politics, is my Catholicism. And that's what we have in common. So we tend not to be lunatics on any one of those issues because we want to do what's right and kind and do unto others. And so that's what that's what drives the politics for you and me. And that's what will always drive my politics.
Do me a favor. Do not campaign and say the war is going to end day one. Do not tell me the hostages are going to come back day one. Do not tell me that this is not your stock market. It's the former president. Stop it. Just stop it. Tone it down. Get shit done. Make everybody feel as good as they can. There's going to be a lot of problems. Some presidents get 9/11. Some presidents get COVID. Other presidents had World War I and World War II.
Right.
Lincoln had to end the Civil War. Like, there's a lot of things that go on a president's plate. I'm very aware of that. Okay, Obama had to come out of the real estate crisis. Whatever it is, I don't care. I just want things to be less noisy from a pretty noisy sports talk host who gets noisy about a lot of stuff. Every day, I get up every day, roughly in my mind about 6:15, 6:20, because I'm invested in the market. I got my 401k, I buy stocks, I sell stocks, but I'm a buy and hold guy. I don't sell anything unless it's really bad, right? And this is the first time since I've been a stockbroker, in 87, that I wake up every morning and I open up my phone at 6:29 for the opening of the market, and I expect World War III. I expect the market to be down 700 or it's going to do this or that, and I understand why. The tariff thing has really tweaked a lot of people globally, but I'm just sick of it, man. I don't want to look at it. It makes my stomach turn. I look at politics and I look at the markets and other things because I'm so engrossed with sports. But this 100 days, don't tell me it was fucking great. It was not. Don't tell me it was awful and the worst ever. It was not. But you can't stand in front of a microphone and say, this is the greatest 100 days in the history of a presidency, because it was anything but that. And a lot of people are bullshitting us on that. Stop the bullshit and just give me facts, Tom.
Oh yeah, well he's incredible. He's done things in politics I thought couldn't be done, and that is, first of all, saying the price of eggs will come down. Gas will be $2 a gallon eventually, which is one other thing. It's just throw that out there, and because the number one thing people were upset about was the price of stuff, but they were still doing stuff. People were traveling, covering news in Los Angeles. LAX was setting a record every holiday for about 3 years. Every holiday was a new record, and it was going on in airports all over the country. We were traveling more than ever. The unemployment level was lowest in the history of numbers at the end of the Biden presidency. And so that's usually when you kind of hang on. But we had Weekend at Bernie presidency, at least from people's perspective. My mother had dementia and Alzheimer's. She couldn't talk about foreign policy and stutter. She couldn't talk about it at all. And he talked about it and stuttered. And so we thought, we were worried about it. And it's an important thing. Age of a president is an important thing, and it still is. And we need to get younger leaders. I think we could also put a bow on this and say, gosh, we need younger leaders and ones that like to cut ribbons and leave us alone. The number one mantra of the Republican Party used to be, from Ronald Reagan, get government off the backs of the American people. And we wake up every day and that's all we're hearing about is our government. On
a lighter note, I went and saw AC/DC this past Saturday night.
All right. Controlled chaos. I like that.
Holy crap, was it great. Oh my God. Was it, you got Brian Johnson who screeches and has to sing. So your voice can't be great when you've been yelling and screeching for 50 years. He just can't, but he was pretty good. Mm-hmm. But Angus Young on guitar, I said when I walked out of there, we went with like 10 friends. I said that was one of the top 3 guitar rock god shows that I've
Wow.
ever seen. And I've seen hundreds of rock shows. So if AC/DC's coming to a city near you, they just played the Rose Bowl. They played Cowboy Stadium, Minnesota. They're playing the home of the Browns and the Patriots. It's a stadium show. Wow, it was just great to see. And again, it's guys in their 70s. I get it. They're not in their 20s. But it was a hell of a rock show, Tom. We had a blast.
I talked to a friend about this last night, who is a friend from the gym who's in his 20s and loves rock and roll, about how in the 80s we weren't listening to Chattanooga Choo Choo and Rosemary Clooney along with AC/DC and the Rolling Stones. That's what an amazing gift rock and roll has been to multi generations. When we were growing up, you did not listen to this. Your dad was listening to Robert Goulet, right? And my mom was listening to a lot of soundtracks, Born Free, and the Sound of Music. Oh my God! So you weren't listening to the same music as your parents, and now people are. I was talking to this guy. His mother liked classic rock and indie rock, and his dad liked rap. And so he's really into he loved the same things that they were listening to along with new music. And that's one of the most profound things currently that's happening is, fathers and sons and moms and daughters and moms and sons sharing a love for the same, for wearing ACD shirts together and going to concerts. And that's an amazing gift that rock and roll gave the generations eventually, from turn that shit down to what my grandparents didn't swear, but they were appalled at how loud I listened to ZZ Top, to now moms and dads and sometimes grandparents going to ZZ Top concerts. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. If you can go see a good rock show, because I'm in my office and I have all this Stone stuff and all the Stone stuff I accumulated. We do not have enough. You mentioned earlier it'd be nice to have like a 39-year-old president, male or female, someone new. Not a lot of baggage and all that. It'd be nice if we had younger, famous rock bands that were in their 20s and 30s. Remember, at one point, Aerosmith was in their 20s. At the same time, some of the greatest rock bands of all time were also in their 20s. So in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s, they were marching to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We're now seeing bands that have 75-year-old guitar players, 79-year-old bass players, because we're holding on to this legacy of these iconic rock bands, and we need younger rock bands to come in and not play rock and be okay. They got to become iconic, Tom, pretty quickly, and that train's not moving down the track, man, and that concerns me.
But as soon as the people in their 20s and 30s can afford to go to concerts, in their 40s and 50s, they'll be going to see Lady Gaga and other people now that are coming up that aren't exactly rock and roll, but Lady Gaga came from rock and roll. Her roots are in she started out in a Led Zeppelin band. Did you know that?
I did. She was
A
a
Led
great cover
Zeppelin
singer in rock.
Did
Yeah.
you ever? Oh my God! She was singing Led Zeppelin songs on Howard Stern. She was great, and all she ever wanted to be was a rock star. But music evolved, and so she just did her music. And that's always the better thing. She's a real musician. Justin Bieber's a real musician. I always thought his career could follow what Frank Sinatra's did. When Frank Sinatra was young, like Bieber, boys didn't like Frank Sinatra because it was just a girl thing, and that was Bieber growing up. Eventually, you can switch that around. Maybe he'll go play a tough guy in a movie and change that. That's what Frank Sinatra did. And so some of these younger people, when their peers start to make more money, they'll be filling stadiums. We just don't know who that's going to be yet.
Both you and I are geeks when it comes to the conclave and who's going to be the new pope. So
watched it again.
I don't know who's going to be the next pope, nor did we know that Francis was going to be the pope the last time. What a beautiful man. He got buried in his coffin. It just said Francis. He didn't have a bunch of gold leaves and the Pope. And I want to be on the top of a mountain. Very humble human being. Great, quiet Pope. Very humble as he passed on. So now you and I get into the conclave, and the only thing that's changed is these disgusting handicappers who are wrong 70% of the time in sports are going to want to handicap the new pope. I don't know who's going to be the new pope, but you and I are very excited to look for the white smoke. We don't know when the white smoke's going to pop up. We look forward to that.
And one of the qualifications is you can't want to be pope. They're always looking for that person who says no. So even if you want to be pope, as you saw in the conclave, everyone's like, no, not me, because you can't campaign and say you can't. It's not the Iowa caucuses. You cannot campaign and be for pope. Here's a great quote from Pope Francis: "Rivers don't drink their own water. Trees don't eat their own fruit. The sun does not shine on itself. Flowers do not spread their fragrance for themselves. Living for others is a rule of nature. We're all born to help each other, no matter how difficult it is. Life is good when you're happy, but it's much better when others are happy because of you." And he had a lot of simple quotes like that. That was a little more poetic, but like the 3 words a happy household has is excuse me, please, and I'm sorry, or excuse me, please, and thank you. It was a quote like that, that one I don't have, but you're right. It was simple. It was humble. And the 2 popes is something also might be fun to see for people while this is happening too. That was a great moment.
You cut out for a second. Were you quoting our current president, or were you quoting the Pope on?
I was quoting.
Oh, I thought you might have been quoting. This is the greatest 100-day speech.
And the movie The 2 Popes is also about, if you even want to compare it to you and me, talking politics where we will laugh or we tell the other person they're crazy and buy another beer. Benedict had a pretty good idea Francis was going to be Pope. And Francis was special and different. And they didn't agree on anything. And they would argue and have a few drinks at night. And Pope Benedict would play the piano and they'd argue over stuff. But in this wonderful way, and then have another drink. I don't think Pope Francis drank, but the other one did. And and that's what the way, as you and I always grew up, usually chatting about politics, but most of our friends weren't interested. But if you disagreed, I always say this about you and me: if you want to build aircraft carriers, I want to build bike paths, and then we can laugh at each other's opinion, call it crazy, but not say you're a bad person. And then we buy another beer and talk about something else. That's the way politics should be.
I want to show you a picture for those who are watching. And remember, you can watch or listen. We're on the Believe Podcast Network. We're on YouTube. There's a whole bunch of ways. But I'm showing a picture of my son from 12 years ago. It showed up on Facebook Memories.
I love Facebook Memories.
12 years ago, he did a school project on Bryce Harper. And if you look here, it's Bryce Harper. Mm-hmm. He did a school report 12 years ago on Bryce Harper, a famous Nevadan. Okay. So you can tell who he grew up. Today, he's taking his last class at Arizona State University.
Wow.
And he's going to send me a picture today. I asked him, send me a picture walking out of his last class. He's going to graduate on May 12th. It's May 1st. And I just want to tell you how proud I am of my youngest son, graduating from college in 12 days, taking his last class today. And I remember him running around this house when he was 7, 8 years old with a backpack, getting ready to go to elementary school. Time flies, man. Enjoy every moment of it. I'm so proud of both my sons, but my youngest graduating from college in 12 days, and it went like that. It flew by.
And one way to make life go. By the way, first of all, let me say about your kids, they were so much fun when they would come into the radio station. It was like there was 14 kids there. There were 2. And they would fly through that radio station. You and I had different studios. They burst into my studio, break a printer, and then leave. That I wouldn't tell you. Because I wanted to get on their good side. I wouldn't tell you that they came in, broke something, and left. And they were just, what a great energy. And the great tribute to you is they come back, and your oldest son moved in for a while until he found something, until he found his own place. And they still go to, they didn't go through a phase, at least from what I remember, where going with you to stuff wasn't cool. They always do. Still to this day, go with you to stuff, sporting events. Did they ever go with you to a concert?
We've taken them to concerts. We've seen some
Okay.
local stuff, but what they do
Okay.
now, which is really good, is they're my Uber driver. If they're home on the couch and
Oh, great.
I'm looking at an Uber and it's 31 bucks. No,
Right.
no, no, no.
Right.
You're going to be my Uber and you're going to take me there. One last thing. You
Right.
remember the show Last Chance U on Netflix about the
Yes.
football players that were trying to get out of the smaller schools? I was on the podcast this morning of Coach JB, and he was the famous
Oh,
coach on
wow.
Last Chance U. Man, I want to recommend everybody to go watch his stream and show. I did about a half hour with him this morning at 8 a.m., and we hit it off like we were brothers from another. He had a cigar, a little profanity, asking me about the
Mhm.
Raider draft and LeBron and all this, and wanted to give a shout out to Coach JB. You can find on all social media. It was kind of nice going on his stream and podcast earlier today, man. This guy brought the fire, and I brought it back.
We've been talking off the air about Swamp Kings, which I know isn't new. I'm the one I keep boasting about watching these documentaries that are 2 and 3 years old, like the Johnny Manziel documentary, which I loved and now love him. Now I love Urban Meyer. Always liked Tim Tebow. And Tim Tebow is even more amazing than I ever thought he was after seeing Swamp Kings. And some people I remember took a lot of shots at Urban Meyer over the years, and now I don't. I will never take a shots at him again. I love him after that. We know people that know him and love him, and that's what coach's job is, to get younger people, younger guys, to love them, and he's good at it. But he doesn't just do that because it's his job. He does it because it's how he is. And he did have, people say, well, Aaron Hernandez, there's some bad guys that played for him. And he talked about that very openly, about how he had a hard time cutting guys or kicking guys off the football team after he kicked one off, who then committed suicide about a year later. And he was like, well, I'm not going to be responsible for that. He felt partially responsible, and he never wanted to feel that again. So he stopped kicking guys off the football team. And so then you realize, oh, yeah, I might have done the same thing. You'll really like that Swamp Kings if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I
I think
watched it.
oh, oh,
I have differing opinions of Urban Meyer.
okay.
Middle of his career, end of his coaching career, broadcaster. I'll leave it at that because we have a mutual friend there who knows
Okay.
him.
All
Uh,
right.
Last thing, when we take a look at the draft came and went. Everybody gets great grades. I didn't get great grades in high school and college. Everybody gets an
Mhm.
A or an A minus or a B
I
in the
saw that
NFL
article.
draft, which is great. But I want to wrap it up with Bill Belichick. And I've talked about his 24-year-old girlfriend. If you didn't see CBS this morning, that show's now better than 60 Minutes, and that says a lot. It's just a great show. You got to DVR, CBS, Sunday mornings. And I watched it, and it was really good. And Belichick's girlfriend, 24, controlled the interview. She interrupted the interview. It was a shit show of epic proportion. If I was Bill Belichick's friend, I'm not talking about Julian Edelman, a former player, but a great friend, I would insist that he breaks up with this girl immediately. I would be the grenade. I would go into the meeting with Bill and say, I'm here to represent all your friends. You're ruining everything by having this 24-year-old girl run around with high heels at practice, interrupt CBS in the middle of an interview. You're looking like an idiot. So we're not going to break up slowly. We're going to break up today. We're going to take everything out. We're going to block her phone number. We're going to go back to being Bill Belichick on the Mount Rushmore of coaches to ever coach at any level. Your
And
thoughts,
then
Tom?
after you told him that, with behind that closed door, he'd tell you why he loves her. And you go, oh.
Mm.
Because number one is, with guys, many times, when Bill Clinton had his scandal, and this isn't a scandal, it's just two adults dating. But when he had his, I always thought it was simple. He just turned 50 and she was 25. Boom. I still got it. May December relationships. And I say this coming from December. May December, they really make the guy feel alive, and that's exactly what's happening there. She makes him feel alive. She makes him feel younger. He's got to relate to people that age, and he can, because as a coach, he's always had to. And if he's crazy about her, then a lot of times too, if and he doesn't like to talk and she does, about anything else but football and she does, fine.
Yeah.
I know maybe I also think you shouldn't do that for this reason. Did you ever watch Below Deck Mediterranean?
No, you do.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Well,
watch. You watch.
and it reminded me of when I was at the Sidewalk Cafe in Venice Beach, and everybody in their 20s has an opinion about who's dating, and that causes big fights when you opine about the relationships of others and tell people you don't like who they're dating. Once you're out of your 20s as an adult, and I know that this is the way you behave and this is the way I behave. If you're not the biggest fan of someone's significant other, you don't say anything.
Yeah, but he's 73, she's 24. If he was 43 and she was 24,
Uh-huh.
55, 24, 61, 24. Okay, maybe we go a little bit longer on this. What people are missing on this topic, which is really important to me, is Belichick's got kids and grandkids, but his kids, one's a coach, he's embarrassing his family now. And his family, his son and daughter, all them, I can tell you what's going to happen here directly. They're going to have what's called an intervention. They're going to sit down with dad and say, "You're embarrassing us. We don't want to be around her. We don't like her. She's controlling you. I know you love the relationship you're having physically and what you might like about her. You're missing the point, Dad. You're messing up your legacy at this stage of your life, which is carved in granite on the Mount Rushmore of the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton. Don't do it." And that's when people and families get broken up. When the daughter, who's in her 30s, and this girl's 24, says to Dad, "Bill, you're embarrassing me." And then they stop talking and families break up. It happens all the time. So I think that's
And
what's going to happen.
sometimes they break up because of that meeting. So
Yeah.
that's why they would be nervous about having that meeting. Now, I don't know. Did you ever read the Jeannie Buss book, Laker Girl?
No, I
Because
didn't.
I have.
No, I didn't. I read
And
the book
yeah, it's
though.
hard to get guys to read a book called Laker Girl. So it was great because Dr. Buss, who ended up holding the Lakers, came from nothing. And she talked very openly. Remember how he always had a gaggle of Playboy bunnies around him? When she was younger, it was great for her because she lived with him. And mom didn't live in the big house in the big mansion. And uh, because they were like her girlfriends. But then she said it got weird when she got older and then his girlfriends were younger than her. And she talked very openly about it. But she adored him. So, I mean, the whole book was a Valentine to her dad. So we don't know how those children feel. We can guess. And when your children are older than your girlfriend is probably is. But it's a rock star thing. This is a
Yeah,
rock star
right.
thing
It's
that the
rock
rest of
star.
us can't necessarily relate to. And what's interesting about this country is people saying everyone's so extreme. Now the most extreme, supposedly conservative people in the country have porn star girlfriends on the side, or 25 kids, or is it 50 kids, or is it 100 kids with Elon? So we've really loosened up on the sexual front in America, liberal or conservatives. I'm stunned by it.
I can't talk anymore because I have a local radio show from noon to 2 Pacific, and I've talked too much over the last 10 days, from the Raiders draft
Yes.
to screaming at the draft party to interviewing Ashton Genty to going to ACDC to emceeing golf tournaments, taking on 2 podcasts today. So I'm going to tap out
Okay.
and do a cold
Uh,
plunge. I'm
uh,
actually going to do a cold plunge
oh, great.
and regroup noon to 2 on Raider Nation Radio, noon to 2 YouTube, JT the Brick YT. And Tom, where can we catch you on all your social media platforms?
Oh, my social media platforms and television and radio. But right now, Looney on Fox. Wait, no, I'm sorry. No, it's Looney on TV on X, formerly known as Twitter. For some reason, we always have to do that. And on Instagram.
Thanks